All right, we're going to take a stab at making a chicken coop here. We're starting with some metal that we already have for the floor. So we're going to make our floor this width. It happens to be about 3 feet by a little over 4 feet. So in order to do that, we made our bottom out of 2x4s treated. There's a lot of talk on the internet whether you use treated or not. There's people who talk both ways. You can use treated whatever you want to. We chose to use treated. Basically, the small piece of metal is going to sit here. The larger piece of metal is going to sit there. And so that's the base for our floor. This is going to be the ceiling. So once it's up and going, this will actually sit up here, which will be above the ground. All right, as you can see, we've got it together now. We've got the base that the floor will sit on, and then the ceiling, which the trusses or the roof will end up sitting on. Now what I'm going to do is put these into this space right here. We're going to go ahead and screw those in. Now what we did, we actually used screws here. You want to use an exterior deck type screw. We actually screwed these into here. It made it easier as we were setting it up. We nailed the other ones, but we used screws there. And I'll screw these in. It'll just be a little easier. You can nail it if you want to. This way it'll allow us to put our outside plywood on there nice and even. All right, as you can see, we've gotten a little farther on the initial frame here. We've added a few pieces for support. We've kept everything flush so we can put our sides on here soon. We've added little boards in there just so we can attach our sides to it soon. I've added a middle board here, and eventually when we put our sides on, our hinges are going to go right here so we can have doors on each side doing that. We've added these 2 boards to attach the nesting boxes to later. And then I've added one over here because what we'll do, the perch will actually go between these 2 here. So as you can see, it's coming along pretty well. All right, we've got our spade bit, 1¼ spade bit for our roost. We put a hole through there. Then the other end, I only went about halfway through. So basically what we're going to do is run our wooden dowel all the way through to the other side. I picked this up at the local hardware store. You can buy it by the foot. And we'll go all the way into there. I'll make my mark here in a second after we tap it in with the hammer. Make sure it's seated in there nicely. I'll take my pencil, mark it for a cut. And then also on the other side, we're going to put a screw right through the end to keep it nice and secure. On this side, we'll also secure it down. We'll probably run a screw through the top to keep it from rotating. All right, as you can see, we got the sides on now. A couple things that you want to pay attention to. This side we dropped down 1.5 inches because remember, we're going to have the peak of the roof up here, and when we put a sheet of plywood on it, we want something to attach to down at the bottom. Also, over here, we made our marks for our hinges. Later on, we got these on sale. These are probably a little bigger than you want, and probably not brass, but they were cheap, so that's what we're going to use. And then we're going to mount those right here for our door later on that will come down here. So it's actually just the other piece of this board that we used. All right, we're working on the trusses now. As you can see, we've got one cut. Let me show you how we did that. First of all, I used a compound miter saw. I just did a 35-degree angle. It's a chicken coop. You can do whatever angle really you want. This looked decent to me as far as getting the rain and snow off the top. 35-degree angle, set 2 screws in there. I may run some more in there for support. I had a scrap piece of wood here, so I put that on here. Now, this is a 35-degree angle, so this on the end, I also made it a 35-degree angle, which is important for cutting the notch. I kind of eyeballed it. I set it up here. I made my center mark here and then figured out where the center is, kind of eyeballed it from there. Made my 2 marks on the side. Once I had my marks, I measured in from here, cut that same angle up, and then squared off there. Did the same thing on the side. I got a little too narrow at first, and just widened it out. It's no big deal. Now, as you can see, put it right on, and then we can secure it. We'll do 3 of these, so we'll do the other 2 the exact same way. Just a quick note: I was tempted to keep these out a little further for protection, but you got to remember you're going to have your doors that are going to be coming up here. So this will allow them to swing up quite a ways. We'll be able to attach them up there when we get to the portion where we do the doors. So I kept them pretty close. We mounted the feeder on the outside here. It's a 4-inch piece of PVC with a slip-on cap that has a threaded side to it here. And then the plug here is threaded, so you can just take it off, put your feed in there, and then put it back on, keep critters out and the weather out. It's a 90-degree turn here. You could use a long sweep, I didn't. And then I used metal strapping and put a piece of wood in there to keep it nice and tight to the side of the house. Penetrated through the side of the wall there into here. It took a hole saw, but you could take just a drill and a jigsaw if you wanted to there for the spot where they can get the food. Then just put a cap on the end of it. I didn't glue it. You could if you wanted to. I figured I could take it apart and clean it if I need to. As you can see, we got a little further on the coop as a whole. We put some wood on the top. I just used a flake board up there because we'll put shingles on it later. We don't need to paint it. I kept the all plywood on the sides because we'll end up painting it later. We will put the door on. We've got the door on the far side. We'll put the door on this side. We'll throw the hinges on there. And we will continue on. We have the roof on here, and as you can see, if you come around this way, you can see that we put the trusses on. Pretty simple. I showed you earlier how we made them. Basically what I did is just threw a single screw in through here on each of them, on each side, and then once you get the roof on, it kind of ties them together that way. This keeps it from lifting up or doing anything like that. Later on, we'll put the sides on an vent up there to have air be able to come through, and also we'll put shingles on top of the roof. All right, there it is in place. I've done a little bit more to it, as you can see. I've added some windows here, just some plexiglass windows, just basically cut a hole in there and then put some trim around that I had laying around. Also added the door for the chickens, put a little latch and then a block with a staple in it so I can run a rope through there and that will slide up and down. And as you can see, added some chicken wire around the bottom, and that way the chickens can go under it once the run is complete. That'll be in a different video. And still have my locks on the top, so when I swing open the door, I can slide these to hold it open. And at the top, on the back side, I actually put a piece of wood. Front side, I just put some chicken wire, let some air go through. I may put something up there to keep rain and stuff out. But that's it. So I think it turned out okay. Turned out a lot heavier than I thought it would. But I think it'll be a pretty good chicken coop. Pretty easy to clean out. Here's a shot through it with both doors open. You can see they'll be really easy to clean out. Pull a wheelbarrow up to the other side and just broom the stuff right into it. I have filled the feeder here. There's holes on the other side, and there's chicken food in there. So I think it'll end up nice. It's the back side of the door, and there's the roost.